You have to have a strong love for the game. You have to be open to learning. Always look to attack, to be yourself. You've got to work hard.
So Cricket Life Stories with me, Neel Khagram. Today we're joined by Loye. Mal, how are you keeping?
Very well, thanks. Good to be here and looking forward to the interview.
So Mal's going to talk through the 5 key tips in his opinion about batting. So a little masterclass he's going to give us, a little insight. But before we get into it, Mal, shall we just talk through your career? Started at Northants, spent a decade there. How was your time there?
Well, probably a little bit more than a decade. I had 12 or so years at Northants, and I actually went back for a couple of years towards the end of my career. And before then, I had a 7-8 year career with Lancashire as well, which was equally as enjoyable. I was very fortunate to have a long career.
So if we talk about your time at Northants, standout moments, that triple century in 98, was it?
Yeah, 98. I had a particularly good year. I prepared really well that winter in Australia. I had a brilliant coach in Peter Karlstein, and technically I felt I was very, very well prepared for that season. It was probably a highlight, obviously, to get a triple hundred, and I think I was the PCA Player of the Year, which was a great honour, certainly at the time, to be voted for your peers as the Player of the Year in 98.
So during that period, whilst you were at Northants, you racked up a bag full of runs. Did it disappoint that you didn't get full international recognition?
Well, disappointment is probably a bit of an understatement. Yes, very much so. Especially at Test cricket. My whole game, as a player, I suppose I changed over the 20 years. But my whole game initially, when I was a kid, was to be a Test cricketer. And obviously then towards the end of my career, I got the opportunity to play for England at ODI level, but I think I was 34. So yeah, in 98, that's probably obviously it was a big high to do so well, but a huge disappointment that I didn't get selected to play for England.
Did you have any communication with the hierarchy? Or
well, there was. I did get selected for the last test against Sri Lanka. I think it was the test that Muralithan got the 16 wickets.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good one to miss. But at the time, for about 3 hours, I was selected in place of Mike Atherton, who had an injury, I think, with his back. And so, for 3 hours, I was going to make my debut, I think that following week or that week. And but they changed their mind. They went for a like for like in an opener in Steve James, who also had a pretty good summer that year. So yeah, mixed emotions around that period.
And then 2003, you made the move to Lancs. How was it going up there, playing on that wicket, Old Trafford?
Yeah, great move for me. I needed something. As a young player, my goal was to play for England, and at the time, I just didn't feel as though I was improving at Northants, and it came to a bit of a lull. So something had to change, and as soon as I arrived at Lancs, we were playing in finals. We're always going for the championship. I think my game evolved, certainly in the one-day game as well. T20 came into fruition around 2003. So again, my game expanded as well. So yeah, it was a good move for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Old Trafford.
Did it disappoint that you didn't get more trophies during your time at Lancs?
Yeah, we were. I was talking about this the other day. In 21 years, I never won a trophy at all. And I really won't bore you with all the finals and semi-finals, and we came runners up. I don't know how many times in the championship.
Yeah.
And each time we didn't, a part of my soul was taken away, and I think I've only just recovered. I think so. I was massively disappointed, but fond memories as well. The fact that we were such a good side, and we were always there or thereabouts, as we were, I would say, in the early 90s with Northants. We were a very, very good side, fantastic overseas players. We had Alan Lamb as our captain, and we were always there or thereabouts.
And then you said finally you got your ODI, your international recognition, making your ODI debut in 2007 for England, down under in Australia. At that time, did you feel that you were ready, or did you feel that you were just kind of past your peak, but you were just glad of the opportunity? What was the mindset when you got told you have been selected?
Well, I was in Auckland at the time, and I'd had a very, very good season for Lancashire in 2006, and I knew I was about one or two injuries away for being selected. So I was playing for Auckland as their overseas player, and obviously New Zealand just down the road from Australia. And that's exactly what happened. I think Kevin Peterson got injured or broke a rib. And I got the call. And to answer your question, was I ready? I think I was more than ready. A little bit hard, probably past my best as a player. And so there was no nerves. I enjoyed the moment. We flew over from Auckland to Brisbane and literally was playing the next day. So didn't really have a lot of time to think about it, and I was into the international game.
Yeah, he says no nerves. I'm sure we'll get into it when we talk about your tips, but that slog sweep of Brett Lee, talk us through it.
Yeah. Well, it's a long story, really, because I initially played the slog sweep to the seam bowlers. I played quite a lot of club cricket overseas. And that would be my advice to a lot of young players, to go out and have a number of seasons all around the world. I had a number of years in New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa. And one winter, we were in Wellington, and Wellington's obviously renowned for poor weather. And so the wickets weren't particularly good, and you'd have the wicket keepers stood up. And there were about 11 English pros playing in the Wellington League that season. And we would get together in a pub, and on the Wednesday night, we'd have all our runs together. And we'd get to about 25. So we weren't doing particularly well. So I had a theory that I said, you know what, they're so slow, these bowlers, and we can't hit them off the square. So why don't we treat them like spinners? So it kind of evolved from that sort of team meeting on a Wednesday night amongst ourselves. And it evolved down the line to probably the fastest bowlers in the world.
Yeah, extremely brave. I'm sure everyone's seen the footage. It still gets replayed now. So then you ended your career, you said, back at Northants, and then you moved into coaching as well. Talk us through the end of your career, and was it again also disappointment that you only played the 7 ODIs? Talk us through the back end of your career.
Yeah. I mean, I played a couple of years after. My big goal from when I joined Lancashire was one last push, I suppose, to play international level. And my goal was the 2007 World Cup. It was probably, it was involved with one-day cricket. And that's where I had my success. And when I suppose I played for England, we'd won that. Actually, I'll take it back. We did win something. I won something with England. We won the Commonwealth Bank Series against them. And flying back, and literally the next day, I was told that I wouldn't be involved with the World Cup. That was a huge disappointment. And at that point, I knew that I'd never ever play for England again. And I suppose that was, even though I played 4 years after that, I knew that I probably didn't play the game with the edge that I probably had previously, because my goal was to play at the highest level. So gradually, my career came to an end in 2011 at Northants, and not just within form and whatnot, but physically I'd gone as well. So, yeah, I went into coaching. I started off at a school, Wellingborough School actually, and I was, it doesn't matter whether you're an international coach or a coach at a primary school. Coaching's coaching. You're dealing with people.
Yeah.
And this probably be something I would, as a tip actually, as a coach, to make your mistakes from the bottom, because you are going to make mistakes. It's a brand new career, and that was a really good learning curve for me. Just being involved with the school, working with them day in, day out, different age groups from the ages of 4 all the way to 18, and just dealing and managing people.
And then you've obviously now got your position at Derby. How are you finding it?
Well, a bit frustrating at the moment, and incredibly frustrating because we were in Zimbabwe on a pre-season tour, and I was really excited of how the hard work from the previous year we'd really progressed as a side in all formats, and I was really looking forward. Put a good winter in, and I was really looking forward to seeing how we progressed this summer. But obviously, it's not to be, but it's something we can build on again, hopefully towards the end of this summer and into the winter.
It's perfect, Mal. Really looking forward to these tips. Let's get into it now.
So my batting tip: you have to have a strong love for the game. It's something that's just naturally has to come within, because I just know that for the sessions that you go and then you want to practice, you actually go away and you'll do the hard yards, you'll do the little bits for you to improve. So ultimately, I'd say this generally throughout whatever sport you're involved, you have to have a strong love for the game. You have to be open to learning. I mentioned previously about young players going into different environments, whether it be here in England or around the world. If you get the opportunity to stand on your own 2 feet, be the overseas professional at a club, have that kind of pressure, I think that's really, really important for your own personal progression. Always look to attack and be positive and just take the opposition on. And that doesn't mean that you've got to go out as a batsman and try and hit every ball for 6. I mean attacking, whether you're leaving the ball or even defending. If you have a certain amount of intent going when you're facing up to a delivery, and the best way to do that is to practice that as well. Is that I find that you get yourselves into very, very good positions, and you're in a better chance of actually scoring runs as well. And also just within your body language with that mentality, it can be quite intimidating for a bowler. Just your aura and your presence. It's amazing how much it gives off if you have that type of mentality. To be yourself. I see a lot of players, not just young players, but young professionals who copy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Copying the greatest players in the world, or the new players who are being successful at the time. If I give an example, Steve Smith, I see a lot of players copying him. Well, I think he has very unique style for him. And there's other batsmen as well. And this has happened over a number of years. I'm a big believer in, as a coach, the player should have the understandings of the very, very basics, and for their own personality, their own style, and their own physical way of playing to evolve. And a great example of that is probably Steve Smith. Now, I don't think he's copied anybody. He's just found his own personal way. He's got the basics of the game grounded from a young player, but then for his own sort of style to evolve. And that would be I've just seen it a lot in the modern game, a lot of copying. And Kevin Peterson, for example, you see a lot of Peterson clones and people like that. Just be yourself, get the basics done, and be your own personality. And then ultimately, I think you've got to work hard. You've got to work hard in all formats of the game. There is a tendency, and I completely understand it, in the modern game, and it's happened since T20 has come about from 2003. There's been a real focus on being that type of player, and it's funky, it's exciting, and it's also very financially rewarding as well for young players. But I really think that working hard on the very, very basics of the game is so important. And the reason why I say that, in the modern game, I mean, I'm an old traditionalist. I suppose I'm a big believer in Test cricket. It's very, very difficult to have all the big shots and the funky things and all the sweeps and, you know, and then going back into Test cricket, the real basics, and to bat long periods of time. It's very, very difficult to do that if you have that primary focus on that format of the game. I think there's only one example, certainly I can think of, in David Warner, who's had that success in going into Test cricket. I can't think of another player. And on the opposite side to that, I played with a guy called Mike Hussey, who was basically a real blocker. He played for Wanneroo and Western Australia, and an opening batsman, a very, like a Geoffrey Boycott type of player, and had really good ground setting of good technique. And the way his game evolved into one-day cricket and obviously T20 cricket as well and because he could then adapt to go back into Test cricket again, I think that that would be the best advice I could give. An example of Mike Hussey, the way he to be successful in all formats, to get that grounding done first and foremost.